Let's freaking go. I'm gonna put this over here. No, let's put this one right here. Let's put this one right here, and let's put that one right there. We're gonna have to share this. Uh, all right. So he's alive. Yeah, it's all about the you. We got a debate, man. I've been seeing this topic all over my news feed. Y'all know me. I'm a Longhorn fan, so we gotta talk about this. We gotta discuss this. It's time. I did drop a video today for those of y'all who may not know about the EA Sports 2K deal with the college basketball. Yeah, it sucks. 2K pretty greedy, man. Go check that video out on the channel later. Let me hop in the Discord real quick and let the people know we live, because this was not planned. Imagine cheering on I've always been a Longhorn fan, man. I like Miami, but I've always been a Longhorn fan. I respect the Canes. I like what they do, a little razzle dazzle here and there, but you know what I'm saying. Um, where's my Discord at? Getting the Discord, let them know we live. We live, baby. Dude, this is crazy. This is crazy. Um, Give me a second. All right. Uh, let's talk about this, man. It's a lot going on right now in the sports world, gaming and in real life. I kind of wanted to do a breakdown show. I am gonna do a breakdown. Actually, it's probably a little too late now. I'll start it later. I was gonna do a breakdown show of like the biggest games in college football and stuff like that from the past week. We could talk about that on the live as well. But one thing that is huge that's been talked about widely is Arch Manning. We know in his first game it was terrible. It was well. I'm not gonna say terrible, but Arch didn't look like people expected him to look. Now me, I'm not surprised because I've seen Arch playing games. I followed Texas. That's my team. I love them. But they did not like Arch. Arch was never, even in the games that he got into, he was never like, oh my gosh, we can't wait for him to play. Arch right now, I'm not gonna say he's not gonna ever be great because Peyton Manning in his first game at Tennessee didn't wow anybody. He actually played pretty badly, as well as in the NFL. He started out badly before he became who he is. Now, you say you don't have to be generational talent to be legendary. Arch Manning is not even legendary though. Not, and I always say not right now because some people don't start out great. It ain't how you start, it's how you finish. Granted, you know, people, one thing I don't like is people use the excuse to say, Well, he was playing against Ohio State, who has an amazing defense. So was Sayan, the quarterback for Ohio State. Granted, he was playing at home. He was still going against the Texas Longhorns, who was who's probably, if they don't have the number one, they definitely got a top 5 defense in the NCAA. And he didn't just have the most spectacular game through the air. You know what I'm saying? But he played better than Arch did, in my opinion. But, Arch Manning, I'm going to say this, though. A generational talent. First of all, let's describe what a generational talent is, in my opinion. A generational talent, in my opinion, is somebody that changes the game. If you're looking at the collegiate level, Vince Young was a generational talent. The Texas Longhorns hadn't had a generational talent at the quarterback position since Vince Young. Tell me I'm wrong. Okay. You look at Vince Young, generational talent. Who's been great at the quarterback spot since him? Quinn Ewers wasn't a great quarterback. He definitely wasn't a generational talent. He got through. He played the system. He did well. But he wasn't great. He wasn't game changing. Nobody turned on the Texas Longhorns to see Quinn Ewers. Tebow was a collegiate generational talent. Cam Newton, I would consider Cam Newton a generational talent. Even when people, and I'm not talking about college, I'm talking about NFL. When people talk about great quarterbacks, it's crazy to me that they don't bring up Cam Newton with as much as he's done. At the collegiate level, Tim Tebow. You didn't have quarterbacks that was doing what Tebow was doing the way that he was doing it at the level of play that he was doing it in. Tom Brady at college was not a generational talent. In the NFL, I would say that Tom Brady was, and when you look at the scope of his career, because now every quarterback is put against that microscope of Tom Brady. You know what I'm saying? People, I just like Michael Vick. Michael Vick, to me, was a generational talent. More so in the NFL because he literally changed how the quarterback position was played. Yeah, you had mobile quarterbacks before that, but not to the level of Vick. Like now, every mobile quarterback is they're put side by side. But how do they compare to Vick? Look at Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson isn't a generational talent. I mean, Michael Vick had the same level ability to run. He had the same ability to throw the ball. People might talk about how, he wasn't as good a passer in the NFL as Lamar Jackson, but that's because of the system that he was in Atlanta. Look at what he did when he went to Philly. Passed for over almost 5,000 yards. You know what I'm saying? Lamar Jackson is put up to the microscope of a Michael Vick. That makes Michael Vick a generational talent. Aaron Donald, I would agree, is a generational talent. Ray Lewis at the linebacker spot was a generational talent. Sean Taylor at the safety spot. Bob Sanders. Those were generational talents. Deion Sanders at the cornerback position. That is a generational talent. It ain't about the level of success. It's that they changed the way that the position is looked at and played. And it changed the way that offenses and defenses had to approach the game. Offenses and defenses aren't changing what they do because of Arch Manning. They're not. He could be a great player. He could be what we would consider a legendary player if he's not there now. But he's not a generational talent. Are we saying Lamar Jackson is not generational because Mike Vick came first? Absolutely. Lamar Jackson is not a generational talent. Michael Vick was Lamar Jackson before Lamar Jackson was Lamar Jackson. And I say that because easily, if you can sit there, who do they compare Lamar Jackson to? You don't bring up Lamar Jackson without bringing up Michael Vick. Now, yeah, he's won MVPs. Don't get me wrong. He can throw the football. Mike Vick can throw that football, y'all. I was there watching Mike Vick play. The Atlanta Falcons, Vick was at a time in the league when when teams were still the running back position was still relevant in the NFL. So teams still ran the ball. You gotta think, he had an Algie Crumpler, he had a Warwick Dunn, you know what I'm saying? A Ronnie White. Look at what he did when he went to Philly. So it's proven that Mike Vick can throw the football. It's just in a different era. But as far as Lamar Jackson's athletic ability, it's always put in the comparison of Michael Vick. That automatically makes Vick the generational talent rather than Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson isn't revolutionizing the quarterback position. He's not. Why? Vick did that. He's put under that microscope. He's not revolutionating, and it's not saying that Lamar Jackson isn't a great player. Lamar Jackson is a great player. He's not a generational talent. Lamar Jackson got more rushing yards already than Vick, though. Vick went to prison for how many years? You don't think that had anything to do with that? Yet and still, see, you're talking about his greatness. I'm talking about how they impacted the game. Lamar Jackson isn't impacting the game. Michael Vick did that first. He opened the door for more mobile quarterbacks who had a great arm as well. You know what I'm saying? You talking about his greatness. I'm talking about his impact on the game overall. What Lamar Jackson is doing, Vick already done. He may pass for more yards. He may rush for more yards. But you don't mention Lamar Jackson without mentioning Michael Vick. The way the position is looked at. I'm not talking about levels of greatness. Heck, you know what I'm saying? Eli Manning won more Super Bowls than Peyton. Does that make him a greater quarterback? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's going good, man. You don't think it's about changing the game? It absolutely is. Then what is a generational talent? You can't sit there and say a generational talent is whoever's good at this point in time. That's not generational. That's not generational at all. Evolution? Nah. I don't think evolution. I don't think you got to go elaborate. What do you mean by it's about evolution? Because anybody can progress as a player. Quinn Ewers at the University of Texas got better year in and year out. He evolved as a player. Does that make him generational? No. By that logic, the dudes would be calling Tarkleton a generational talent because he came before Vick, and we all know that's not true. No, but Tarkleton didn't change the game like that. Mike Vick, I'll put it like this. We still talk about Mike Vick to this day when it comes to the quarterback position. Anytime you see a quarterback that can run, you're not comparing him to a Tarkleton. You're comparing him to a Michael Vick as far as mobility at the quarterback position. That to me says that that's a generational talent. When you have a pocket passing quarterback, who are they comparing him to? Tom Brady. Tom Brady was a generational talent in the NFL. Lamar and Vick are both generational talents? No. It ain't about era. Lamar Jackson does not get, they're not both generational talents. That's not how it works. That's not how it works, man. I know Lamar might be your boy and you want to throw him in there, but we're not talking, to this day, Lamar Jackson is still compared to a Michael Vick when it comes to his mobility and stuff and his arm. Vick had a stronger arm than Lamar Jackson too, by the way. They both not generational talents. Lamar Jackson didn't change how the quarterback position is played. Lamar Jackson didn't change how defenses play against a mobile dual threat quarterback. Michael Vick did. Is Kobe a generational talent? Who do you compare Kobe to? I would say that Kobe is a generational talent. Kobe came out of high school to the NBA and had an outstanding career. People are compared to Kobe. Yeah, Kobe's a generational talent. The Mamba mentality, you don't really see players like that. I wouldn't say that Jordan is a generational talent. That might throw some people up in arms, but I don't see that because guys, Jordan was great with his supporting cast. He wasn't great without that supporting cast. Is AP a generational talent? Are you talking about Adrian Peterson? No. Adrian Peterson didn't change or revolutionize the running back position, how it was played. I'm going to tell you who was a generational talent at the running back position that people don't talk about. LaDainian Tomlinson. LaDainian Tomlinson, what? I'm tripping that Jordan's not generational? Explain to me how Jordan was generational. Michael Jordan didn't change the game of how basketball was played. I think if people with Jordan y'all get full of the hype around Jordan. That doesn't make a player generational. Magic was to me a generational player. He was great before Jordan was. He did things that Jordan followed suit in. They compared Jordan to Magic. Okay. Jordan won some titles. Don't get me wrong. But if we're talking about titles, what's the old boy from the Celtics that had like 6, 7 rings? The league had never seen athletic ability in a player like that before. That's a lie. Magic Johnson, bro. What are you talking about? Jordan made the Magic Johnson. Jordan didn't make the game more guard centric. The game has always been guard centric because the game operates through the point guard, literally. The league had seen more athletic ability than Jordan. Irving? Come on, man. If that's the case, then Allen Iverson was generational because he had more athletic ability than Michael Jordan. He might couldn't jump as good and dunk as far as Jordan, but Iverson had better handles. Steph Curry, Kyrie Irving has more athletic ability than Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan was ahead of his time. He played in a slower NBA. It was a big man's league. Jordan wasn't small. My point is Jordan was he was more athletic than the guys around him, but I don't say that makes him generational. Michael Jordan was more hype. LeBron James has won more than Jordan has. He's put up more points and all of that, and he's a bigger guard. Michael Jordan was when you look at it in the sense of entertainment, electricness. Yes, he's a hype guy. But to say that he changed the game of basketball? Nah. I don't think so. Show me how. Magic Johnson paved the way for that. He changed how the guard position was played. Okay. But I want to get into this thing with because apparently Ryan Clark is taking some heat from this because people really don't know football. Insane, the guy says. Ryan Clark doesn't think Tom Brady, Drew Brees, or Peyton Manning were generational talents. Yeah, okay. So you saying if being generational is having talent that no one around you has, yeah, let's go back to football. Let's apply that to football. Okay. I don't think that makes somebody a generational talent. Having talent that no one around you has. Give me an example. Football wise. So he doesn't think Tom Brady, Drew Brees, and Peyton Manning were generational talents. I don't think Brady, I don't think Drew Brees, I don't think Peyton Manning were generational talents. And guys, to a degree, I got to agree with him. I think that Tom Brady was a generational talent. I don't think Peyton Manning was. I can agree with that. And I don't think anybody would argue that Drew Brees is. Let's listen to what he had to say here. Let me, hang on a second. Let me pull up the desktop audio for you. Let's listen to what he has to say here.
Was a generational talent. I think John Elway was a generational talent.
I agree.
think Patrick Mahomes is a generational talent.
I agree.
I don't think Tom Brady. I don't think Drew Brees.
I think Tom Brady is.
I don't think Peyton Manning are generational talents. I think Andrew Luck ended up being a generational talent. I don't think there's a ton of them out there.
But so then what? Then how does one, in your eyes, be a generational talent? Because there's not a lot of difference.
Production.
Let me.
I have to disagree with Stephen A. Smith. It's not even all about production here. But people throw that term generational talent out there every year. He's a generational talent. Every single year people saying that. And that's not what a generational talent is. A generational talent has to be rare. My generation to my kids' generation, who changing the game in those generations, that's 3 generations from my dad to me to my son. And yet every year they're saying, oh, somebody is a generational talent. Arch Manning, let's just listen to the rest of this. I'm sorry.
Chime in here because I love the argument back and forth between y'all. I ain't trying to get in the way of it.
got it.
Here's the reality. The operative word here is. Do you believe Arch Manning is a generational talent?
No.
Could be, but he's not. Why not yet? What have you seen to say that he is?
There's no evidence.
There's no evidence.
I think John Elway.
And here's my deal. Look at the disdain on this dude's face, bro. Like, he is upset because they saying Arch Manning is not a generational talent. Show me where he is. Show me where Arch has been a generational talent. What's up, Burns? Lamar is generational? Because you won't look around and find another Lamar? Michael Vick. Lamar Jackson is not generational because Michael Vick did what Lamar Jackson done. Lamar Jackson is following. Here's why I say Lamar Jackson isn't. Because he's always going to be compared to who? Michael Vick. In the league today, that's not how generational talent works. We're not talking about in the league today. We're talking about a generational talent is somebody who changed the game of whatever they're around. Lamar Jackson didn't change the game. You cannot talk about Lamar Jackson without talking about Michael Vick. When they talk about his mobility, who they compare him to? Vick. Let me ask you this question, Check the Gamer. How old are you? I'm interested to know. As soon as he win the Super Bowl, the debate is over? No, it's not. Because a pioneer that's what a generational talent is. Somebody who changes the game. Tom Brady, in my opinion, became a generational player because now every quarterback is compared to who? Brady. Can you, at the NFL level, can you do what Brady done at the NFL? He set the standard for quarterbacks. That's a generational talent. Okay. See, but that's what I'm talking about, Burns. That's the distinguishing factor. A generational talent that's what Stephen A. saying, and I do kind of agree with. It's about production. It ain't all about success with a generational talent. A generational talent don't mean that you're the best that ever did it. A generational talent is a rare player that comes along and changes how the game is approached. That's a generational talent. And let's be fair. Okay, you can say, the reason I don't say Super Bowls, okay, is because you know how hard it is to win a Super Bowl? If we're talking about Super Bowls, then Bill Russell in the NBA is a generational talent because he got more championships than anybody. But is anybody talking about him being a generational talent? Hell no. So we can't just say it's about championships. You know what I'm saying? And then the fact that you're 25 means you wasn't around watching Michael Vick play like that. You didn't experience how he changed the game at quarterback. Michael Vick is a big reason why defenses now are more athletic because he was running off on secondary guys. Before, the league was built more physical. Stop the run game, blah, 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 blah. You know what I'm saying? Defenses are more athletic today because of guys like Michael Vick. I don't think Brady is a generational talent because guys look around and you had guys who can do everything. The reason I say But here's my point. Aaron Rodgers is every quarterback in the NFL is compared to who? Tom Brady. From here going forward, every quarterback, Pat Mahomes is compared to who? Tom Brady. Why? Because Tom Brady, and I don't see how anybody can argue Brady being a generational talent. Tom Brady literally changed how the quarterback position is looked at. Quarterbacks are evaluated on how they approach the game like a Tom Brady. Even though he went from being a 7th round pick, okay, to being somebody that every quarterback is going to be measured to. At first, people thought it was Belichick, the reason for Brady's success, until Brady went to a different team and still won Super Bowls. All right. Dwight Freeney, Javon Curse, Antonio Gates. Yes. They changed how the defensive end position was played. He's not generational. That word gets used way too much for these players. Who? Who's not generational? I definitely was around the Eagle years. The Eagle years wasn't when Michael Vick revolutionized the quarterback position. It was when he hit the league on the Atlanta Falcons. That's when Vick was generational. He changed how NFL defenses approach the game. Lamar Jackson doesn't do that. Why? Because the NFL is already built around that based off of how Vick played. Okay? That's off accolades? No, Brady is a generational talent because how he approaches the game, how he sees the game. Help me understand what your definition of generational talent is. A player that changes or revolutionizes how the position or sport is played. Who would disagree with that? Because if you're talking about success, championships, etc., 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 then how many players have rings that ain't good? Or that just happen to be on a good team? Does that make sense? It's a difference between being a great player and a generational player. It's a very thin line, okay, but it's not the same. I consider it to be a guy who immediately brings unique characteristics to the game. They come out of college with it. No, because a generational player could be in college. You can have a generational player in college that's not a generational player in the NFL. Perfect example, excuse me, in the league right now, how many players was great in college? You look at college, a Ricky Williams could be considered a generational player at the running back position in college that he wasn't in the NFL. He didn't live up to that in the NFL. I didn't read the full text. Where at, Burns? What you talking about? Cam Newton was generational at all? No, Cam Newton was not a generational player at the quarterback position. He was a historic player at Auburn. He wasn't generational. Arch is not generational. He's only getting hyped because of his last name. I agree with that. I consider it to be a guy who immediately brings unique characteristics to the game. They come out of college with it. They don't develop it in the league. I disagree. You could be a generational player on the NFL level if you change how the game is played in the NFL. If you take Brady's accolades, he's just a guy, he doesn't do anything. Another guy can't. But that's the thing, though. How does Brady have his accolades? How did he earn those accolades? He said they come out of college with it and don't have to develop it in the league. See, but I don't disagree. I disagree with that, man. You can have a generational talent at the quarterback position. I mean, at any position at the collegiate level. If you changed how teams or defenses or offenses or positions are looked at in college, absolutely. You can in college. You can be a generational talent at the college level than the NFL because, guys, college isn't the same as the NFL. The game is played differently. It's approached differently and everything. Ricky Williams has other issues, though. He had off-the-court demons. That don't make him we talking about on the field. You can't talk about off the field. Off the field doesn't affect how on the field is played. He had those issues off the field, and dude still changed how the running back position was looked at in college. I left for a bit, so I don't know what we're talking about exactly. But Brady is definitely not a generational talent. Explain to me how Brady is not a generational talent. He's saying they hit the league and still make an impact immediately. That's no, because even in college, okay, you look at a Michael Vick, for example, or okay, Tom Brady. By that standard, because Tom Brady was so successful in NFL, he should have been that successful in college by that standard. But he wasn't. By your logic, we'll never see another generational talent because everyone will be compared to something. No, that's not true. By my standard, a generational talent isn't somebody that you're talking about every single year. By my standard, a generational talent is somebody that's rare. There's going to come somebody at some position that's going to change how that position is looked at. That's a generational talent. That's why I say Lamar Jackson ain't a generational talent. He ain't changed how the quarterback position is looked at. Mike Vick did that. All right. Tom Brady, when it comes to a field general quarterback, a coach on the field, that Tom Brady did that. That's what makes Brady a generational talent. If you were drafted in the top 10 generational talent, no, because how many players was drafted in the top 10 that was bust in the NFL? Jamarcus Russell. Did I say that out loud? Trent Richardson, he was drafted in the top 10. He ain't a generational talent. So no, home blown in your logic. No. You mean like what Steph did to the NBA? Absolutely. And it's crazy because you're not talking about before Steph Curry was Reggie Miller as far as 3-pointers, but because of what Steph Curry has done to the game of basketball, Steph Curry is a generational talent. Absolutely. You're not talking about Reggie Miller when it comes to the 3-point shooter no more. Anytime you're talking about shooting from range, look at Caitlin Clark in the WNBA. Even she is compared to who? Steph Curry. Because Steph Curry's shooting from the way that Steph Curry shoots changed how the game of basketball is played. All right. Have any of you guys played Hollow Knights? No, we hadn't, man. I had. Are we talking generational coming into the draft? No, it's not about draft. It's about your impact on the game. And like I said, you could be a generational player in college and not be a generational player in the NFL. And vice versa for college in the NBA or whatever. This is my opinion. A generational talent is somebody that changes how the position is approached, how the game is played, or even looked at. And the reason why you have to separate college and the NFL because the NFL game isn't approached the same way the college game is. They don't run triple options and power options and wing T and slot T and wishbone and flex bone and stuff in the NFL. Why? Because the game is different. You got to approach the game different. You can still run that stuff in college because the game is different. All right. You look at the wide receiver position. All right. Odell Beckham was a generational talent at the wide receiver position because he changed how the wide receiver position was looked at. It has been ran in the NFL, but it's not anymore. Why? Because the game is different. You have way more athletic players. College football 26 game play. What you mean? I'm not on the game right now. No, I'm not talking about generational prospects. I'm talking about just generational talent in general. Odell Beckham to me, a generational talent at wide receiver. Why? Because kids literally going up with anybody make a one-hand catch now, who do they compare it to? Who do they bring up? Odell Beckham. Randy Moss was a generational talent. Yes, I will agree with that. Megatron, generational talent. Why? Because with Megatron, you did not see guys that big and athletic doing what they were doing at the wide receiver position. Okay? Julio Jones came after Megatron. Baltimore runs some triple option, but you don't have an entire offense geared around the option in the NFL today. You did. Yes, I agree. You did back in the day. Yes. But the game changed. All right. Baltimore's offense isn't built around the triple option. Randy Moss, his pure athleticism, it really wasn't seen at the wide receiver position at that time. He was a freak of nature. Definitely changed the game. He was a generational talent. Eric Crouch back in the day was on his way. Eric Crouch played around the same time Vic did. He won the Heisman. Okay. I would say Eric Crouch probably to a degree. I wouldn't call Eric Crouch a generational talent. He was good at the quarterback spot. You know what I'm saying? But you had other mobile quarterbacks at that time like that. It wasn't no quarterbacks doing it like that. And that's why when I say Vic, I don't mention Vic in college. I mention Vic in the NFL. Because you just didn't see that in the NFL. You saw it in college. You saw quarterbacks that can run in college. But they wasn't doing it in the NFL. Vic was able to do it in the NFL. Oregon is a generational football program. That Oregon during the Chip Kelly era, I would say a generational football pro. If you're talking about program, Alabama. The Nick Saban-led Alabama set the standard for how a football team is evaluated, how a football team is to be productively led. And now you see Kirby Smart doing that with Georgia year in and year out, having a great team. You know what I'm saying? Teams now are being compared to Alabama. When you look at the success of a college football team, you're comparing it to Alabama. So that wouldn't make a team a generational. It would make the coach generational. Nick Saban is a generational coach. We're using it too freely now. Odell made one catch. He was a severe underachiever. Nah. Odell's talent was generational because you didn't see receivers doing what he was doing. He didn't make just one catch. What people don't realize is Odell was doing that stuff in practice and stuff all the time. It wasn't just some random event that he jumped up and made a one-hand catch like that. Y'all looking at generational as y'all looking at it in the sense of accolades, bro. No, a generational player changes the game because when it comes to accolades, you got to have the people around you. Lamar Jackson ain't doing what Lamar Jackson. I'll put it like this. Cam Newton is a better quarterback than Lamar Jackson. Why? Because Cam Newton did it with less talent. That makes him better. You doing it with less talent around you? Bruh. Come on. It ain't all about accolades because sometimes you can't control that. The system that you go into and stuff like that. Strictly off some outstanding catch? No. So anybody, I don't see how you can sit there and deny after Odell made that catch, which he's made other catches like that. Every time a player makes a one-hand catch, you didn't see highlights of people making catches like that. We saw it last week, this past weekend in Miami when they played Notre Dame. Old boy from Miami made that one-hand catch. What came to your mind anytime you see that? Anytime you see a player make a catch like that, the first thing that comes to, if you're in the sports, the first thing that comes to your mind is Odell Beckham. You didn't see receivers attempting to make catches like that in games. As far as that position. Jerome Bettis, when people used to run people over, we used to call it, oh, you got Bettis. He was a generational player at the running back position in the NFL. Now the game has changed. You don't have that tenacity at the running back position no more. You're more geared to catching out of the backfield and stuff like that. So now a guy like Christian McCaffrey becomes a generational player. Alvin Kamara, because they changed how the game was played at that position. Bama BCS days were historic. The Saban. It ain't even about the BCS. It's just Nick Saban. There's not that many generational talent people, good and great, but generational talents only come so often. Generational talents. I agree with that. And that's what I'm saying. People, you can't say every year people say, oh, he's a generational talent. He's a generational talent. He's a generational talent. No, man. What's his name? What's the quarterback from Gosh, my mind went blank. Played at Clemson with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Why can't I think of his name? Why is my mind shooting blanks like that? Is Ed Reed a generational talent on the defensive end? At the safety position? Absolutely. What safeties was doing it like that? The way that Ed Reed played that position. I think Ed Reed was absolutely a generational player. Trevor Lawrence, thank you. Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields was around the same time, and I would really consider both of them. It's like, do you consider them generational talents in college, coming out of college football? I think they were in high school. What was Troy Polamalu? Troy Polamalu wasn't Ed Reed. And Polamalu was the hybrid. Troy Polamalu was like if you combine Ed Reed and Brian Dawkins, because Polamalu would come up and lay the hat to you, but he could also cover. You know what I'm saying? Ed Reed, as far as coverage safeties, to me, was a generational player because he was just crazy, stupid, athletic, and he was so smart, always around the ball where you needed to be. You know what I'm saying? Christian McCaffrey and Alvin aren't generational based on your logic because of LT? Okay, so you just proving my point then. That a generational player is somebody that changes the game. I didn't say that they were generational. They could be. Because when you think about a receiver out of the backfield, you're going to think about Christian McCaffrey and Alvin Kamara, which I said earlier in the video about LT being a generational talent because he did that before his time, before it was popular. It just wasn't utilized across all the NFL. He was doing it, but he didn't change how the running back position was played. San Diego just utilized it a lot. That's just literally proving my point. My point of my definition that a generational player is somebody that changes the game. And who do you compare them to when they coming out the backfield? But because I literally said somebody that don't get a lot of credit that I think is a generational player is LaDainian Tomlinson. Trevor Lawrence was absolutely insane. We hadn't seen nothing or a little amount of him like him before in high school, in college. I agree. But, you know, and I think his success in the NFL, people don't understand success. This is why I don't base generational talents just based off of success, because you can end up in a bad situation. I don't think anybody would disagree that Shedeur Sanders is a better quarterback than Dylan Gabriel. But dude gets drafted in like the 4th round. Like, come on, bro. He got the stats to prove it, that he's done it. You know what I'm saying? He had one bad preseason game and people crapping their pants, which is a topic that I'm finna get into next, that it seems like people are doing. Position-wise, you mean? I transferred to Texas after 2 years at Oregon. Let's see how this goes. So that's another thing I kind of want to get into is like Arch Manning played one game as a starter. He didn't look very good in that game. Now, I'm going to say this up front. I've seen him play in high school. I've seen him play at the University of Texas. Arch Manning is not him. I'll put it like that. He's not him. Can he become a better player? Absolutely. Right now, though, he's not that guy. Last year, he wasn't that guy. It's hype around his name. Okay? As compared to like a Shedeur Sanders. And this is really going to piss some people off. Shedeur Sanders was a better quarterback than Arch Manning. Shedeur Sanders, and I'm not talking about right now in the NFL, in college, Shedeur Sanders at Jackson State was a better quarterback than Arch Manning is at Texas. That's because the league is more than talent. You got to play politics and be. I'm not going to say that. Shedeur doesn't have the ability. Nah, let's be honest. Shedeur getting snobbed in the NFL is because they don't. I don't give a crap if you believe this or not. But this society doesn't like confident black men. They don't. Deion Sanders has never said an ill thing about people in the public. He's always supported his sons, and he's always led for confidence. And he's always said this quote that I love. He said, "Don't allow my confidence to offend your insecurity." Okay. Look at what they did with LeVar Ball. confident as hell in supporting his sons, and they tried to drag him every chance they got, and they literally waited every opportunity for his sons to fail so that he would be wrong. And all three of his sons are hella successful. You know what I'm saying? Why is Shedeur getting so much hate? What has he done? Ain't nobody doing that to Travis Hunter, but you don't see Travis Hunter being so confident. They call it cockiness when it's a black guy, but when it's a Johnny Manziel or a Baker Mayfield, it's confidence, it's swagger. Look at this dude's face right here when they say that Arch Manning is not a generational talent. Watch this.
He is. There's no evidence.
Look, Buddy looking flabbergasted because they saying, and then you seen Dan Orbanowski, whatever his last name is. Y'all saw him talking about Arch Manning after the game, saying that he's still generating. Man, bull crap. They're making excuses for this guy, man. He too flashy? He not too flashy. What is too flashy? Do you not know Deion? If y'all want to talk about people being themselves, Deion was the same way when he came out of college going to play for the Dallas Cowboys. He ain't changed one bit. Deion is Deion. That's him. Too flashy? People don't like that. They don't seem to mind when it's Johnny Manziel. They don't seem to mind when it's Baker Mayfield. He was wearing diamond chains on the football field during games. So? Oh, diamond chains on the football field, but you got Belichick out there in a cutoff. There's a coach from Coastal Carolina that literally wears a sleeveless hoodie as a head coach. And don't nobody say nothing. Matter of fact, they even put the damn thing in the game. It's in college right now. You can have a sleeveless freaking hoodie pullover for your coach in the game. I like it. He got the proms on. He got the chains. But here's the thing about it. That's not flashy. That's Deion. I get it if he wasn't like that before and all of a sudden he gets to the fame and he doing all of that. But Deion's been like that all his life, dog. That's him. He's being himself. So I don't sit there and say that, oh, he being too flashy. What makes you insecure about it? What bothers you about it? Why does it bother you to see a coach on the sideline with chains on? But it don't bother you to see a coach with a cutoff sleeve hoodie on. His confidence offends your insecurities. Baker Mayfield was cocky as hell. Yeah, but they didn't call it cocky. They called it confident. Baker Mayfield grabbed his junk in front of the stands. He flipping off folks and everything. But he still get drafted high. He's confident. We need a guy like that with some grit. Bruh, come on, man. Tell me I'm wrong. I'm not wrong. Trevor Lawrence was an outstanding quarterback in high school. Justin Fields. Arch Manning is overrated. Doesn't mean, because I'm a Texas fan. Y'all know I'm a Texas fan. Okay? There were times last year when it was like, bro, play Arch at this point. Because Quinn Ewers was he just buckle up in that. Yeah, okay, Omar, good point. What's wrong with wearing chains? But a motherfucker can grab his manhood with children in the crowd. But Lord forbid somebody show they watch. Don't allow my confidence to offend your insecurities. That's crazy. It's crazy that the people can say that about Shedeur and Deion. That the only knock that you can say against them is that they're too flashy. Them boys is confident. And here's the deal. They got the stuff to back it up. It's so insane. Okay? How world is. All right? Deion has a bad game against Georgia Tech in his opener. They drug him for making bad. Well, you had 2 timeouts. Why didn't you use them? Deion explained it. I'm a coach. I coach football. He explained why he didn't use those timeouts, and it makes sense. One of them I say he probably should have used. All right? Was they dragging Belichick for getting his ass handed to him by freaking TCU? The Colorado Georgia Tech game was closer. Granted, I'm watching that game and y'all was there in the Discord. What did I tell y'all? They need to start capitalizing off of these turnovers. Okay? But yet and still, they still ended up losing the game. But Belichick, oh, you proven in the NFL, you got all these championships. You come to college and you get blowed out. Guys, that game was insane way TCU ran through them. But now they making excuses for him. Oh, well, he's a first-time coach. Oh, he got 70 new players, blah, 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 blah. See, they make excuses for Belichick. But then you crucify Deion? The same way that they making excuses for Arch Manning, but they crucifying Shedeur Sanders. You know what I'm saying? DM, I kind of want your thoughts on this take. I have a quarterback situation around him. A quarterback situation around him affects how much success he has way more than how good he is himself. Bro, listen, every position on the field is affected by the positions around them. Okay? A running back is only as good as his offensive line. A quarterback is only as good as his offensive line and his receivers. All right? The linemen, they can get mixed up in the shuffle. A linebacker is, in my opinion, only as good as his defensive line. A cornerback is only as good as his defensive line and his linebackers. Case in point, if the linemen ain't doing their job, the domino effect rolls downhill. Okay? If you got a quarterback's job, his success is strongly tied to several things. Number one, how good his offensive line is. Number two, what weapons do he have at receiver? And number three, how good of a pass attack does that team have? I mean, run game, okay? Because if you don't have a successful run game, it's going to be even more difficult to play to be successful in the pass game. Because if you know a team can't run the ball, the defense is just going to be geared to stop the pass, and it's going to make it harder. Therefore, here in comes the offensive line. How good is your offensive line? If they can't block worth a dang, you know what I'm saying? So a quarterback, you can have a brilliant quarterback, hella arm talent. And this is why I tell y'all the NFL screws some of these players, and colleges too, because you get some good players with talent and you wonder why they bust in certain teams. It's because that team, look, Cleveland Browns is a perfect example. What success? Why do you think Cleveland has never had success at quarterbacks? They've had some talented ass quarterbacks. Deshaun Watson. They got Flacco right now. Sanders, I think, is a good quarterback. I don't think Dylan Gabriel's terrible. They had Brady Quinn. They've had some top picks at quarterbacks that had a lot of success. Baker Mayfield. Why do you think they not that good? Quarterbacks go there to die because they don't put the tools around them to be successful. Granted, they offensive line. When have you ever seen Cleveland with a great offensive line? They've had good running backs. They've had good quarterbacks. Here, recent history, they've had decent wide receivers, but they've never had. Thomas was probably the only offensive lineman that we know of that was good at Cleveland. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, my thoughts on that. A quarterback's situation around him affects how much success he has. Yeah. You can have it. That's why football is a team sport. It ain't track and field. But you can still tell. Perfect situation, Ohio State. Now, granted, Ohio State was doing a lot of stuff in that secondary, but Arch still had some open passes to make, and he didn't really make those passes and it's crazy because I've seen him make those passes before. That's why I'm not knocking his game, and that's what leads me to my next topic is players have bad games. People are crucifying players and coaches now based off of one damn game. When I talk about Arch Manning not being a generational talent, I'm looking at what I saw in high school. I'm looking at what I saw from him playing in Texas last year, and I'm looking at what I'm seeing so far. I'm looking at the spring games and everything. I've looked at the body of work. You know what I'm saying? You got some people just looking at what happened this past Saturday. I'm looking at the total body of work. You know what I'm saying? It definitely affects his performance and success. But when watching film, you can also tell when the quarterback isn't doing himself any favors. I agree 100%, Omar. And that's coming from another guy that's played college football. You can tell. You can tell when it's the offensive line that's just not blocking, giving them time to throw. Perfect example. You look at Shedeur Sanders in his first preseason game compared to his second. The second, that offensive line wasn't blocking for worth a dang. And people say, oh, but that other quarterback, he led touchdowns with that same offensive line. But what was the play calling? You see what I'm saying? Because that's another factor that goes into the success on the field is what plays are they calling? You got a terrible offensive line. You don't need, and y'all can get on the game right now and do this. You do not need to. People talk about the pass game is terrible. The pass blocking is terrible in college football. Yeah, because you got a bad offensive line and you trying to throw post routes and fades. You trying to throw plays that develop slowly that requires better blocking. That's why teams that don't have good offensive lines, they tend to not have a deep threat in the pass game because those offensive linemen can't block that long for that play to develop. So they have a lot of screens and short hitting slants and drags and mesh routes and things like that, along with a run game that keeps the defense honest. That's why I say the more I get on social media, the more I look at people don't know football, bro. They don't. We seen what Deion did to TCU. Granted, I'll say this too in the defense of that, playing devil's advocate, it was a different TCU team. Yeah, that TCU team had previously went to the championship game or whatever like that, but it still wasn't the same team. You know what I'm saying? But in retrospect to that, it's like, yeah, it was Deion's first game coaching in college, big time D1. But he had previous history coaching in college. It's just different. He had a whole new team. He brought some guys with him. I want to see Shedeur make a big stink and get up out there in the next year. Cleveland is where quarterbacks go to die. Yeah, Cleveland is where they go to die. Arch Manning is mainly just a name. He's decent, but I don't see Peyton or Eli for real. And here's the deal that people don't realize, man. Peyton wasn't awesome his entire time at Tennessee. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't. Granted, Arch has been at Texas. He's a sophomore this year? He was a redshirt freshman last year. Sophomore this year, redshirt sophomore. Gabriel definitely, what did he say? Gabriel definitely does a better job getting the ball out fast. No. Gabriel was giving quick hitting passing routes. There's a difference. I'm not saying he don't get the ball out quick, but y'all gotta look at what look at what plays were being called, man. Y'all gotta look at what plays were being called. Giving your quarterback the Andrew Luck treatment. Yeah, the Colts are the reason that Andrew Luck retired early. You got to give your protection to your guy. You can't sit there and draft a good quarterback and not have an offensive lineman around him. You building a house on a foundation made of sand. He's not going to be successful. Same thing with RG3. Washington running plays with him and stuff like that, man. RG3 could have been great in the NFL. But you sitting up here running them into the ground and not giving them the tools to be successful. And it worked at first, but the NFL is one of those leagues where they are going to adapt, and they're going to adapt fast. And it's bleeding into college. That Colorado team also went 1-11. Okay, and what's your point? They went 1-11. And people call for Prom's job. What did they do next year? What did they do the following year? That since Deion Sanders has been there, that team has improved every year. Have they not? Okay. Look at his track record. When he went to Jackson State, they weren't just immediately successful. It's a process. My point is that they dragged Deion, but then Belichick comes out and drop a goose egg that he dropped as a head coach, and they making excuses. How do you not see the point that we making here? What's up, Savage? He said he was tired of getting hit when he retired. Yeah. Also, Arch doesn't have to be his uncles, and he still can be successful. Absolutely. And that's one thing I got to make clear. We're not saying that the guy can't be successful. Are you agreeing with me? Okay. My bad. We're not saying that he can't be successful. He absolutely can. But people saying that he's a generational talent and all this and that, it's like, where is the tape on that, dude? But people saying, Ryan Clark, oh, let's drag him through the mud. Let's talk. Like, nah, man, he dropping dimes on him. After watching DM Gaming's latest video, turns out the school screwed us over. Which is better? Yeah, and so and you shouldn't see those guys in him. He's his own person. Arch, just remember who you are. I want him to be successful because I'm a Longhorn fan. I don't want to seem like I'm dogging him. Like, bro, you not a generational talent. I don't think Arch would even say he's a generational talent. But it's crazy how we have this double standard in America. Whenever it comes to Arch Manning, you look at his last name and people make all these excuses for him and they praise him and this and that. And he hasn't showed anything to merit that. And then on the other hand, you have a guy like Shedeur Sanders and people giving him all this hell and just waiting for him to. It's literally people that they just dislike Shedeur Sanders. Successful, has the numbers. People shit a brick when they retired him and Travis Hunter's jerseys. Which, even me, I was like, you know what I'm saying? But guys, do y'all know that how many records Shedeur Sanders broke at the University of Colorado? I think he broke just about every one of them. He broke the majority of them. Shedeur Sanders broke at least 7 significant records during his 2 seasons at Colorado, including single season passing yards and touchdowns in 2024, as well as multiple single game records, such as passing yards, 510, in 2023 against TCU, previous national championship attendees. They didn't win it. He also set school records by throwing a touchdown in every game he played at Colorado, a streak of 21 consecutive games. Here are some other key records he set. Single game passing yards, single season passing yards in 2024, 4,134. Single season passing touchdowns in 24 with 37. Single season completion percentage, 74%. Also in 2024. Single season completions, 353 completions, 2024. Single season quarterback rating, 165.9. Single game passing yards, 510, and consecutive games with a touchdown. Like, as far as records go, he's the best quarterback that came through Colorado. But as far as overall team wins, not so much so. So then that begs the question, how do you determine a player's success? Is a player successful based off of wins and losses or about what they accomplish at that university? I don't agree with them retiring the jerseys, but when your dad is the head coach, and hey, the athletic department and all of that was behind that, guys. It ain't just a decision that Deion made. The school and university agreed with him. So who are we to judge? You know? So you're trying to say that Cleveland is trying to set up Shedeur because they're intentionally calling bad plays for him. I'm not saying that they're trying to set him up, but they don't have his best interest at heart. Tell me that they do, man. Buddy went through the entire offseason, the entire summer training, didn't even get any reps with the ones. And then you throw him in the game and he produces. And then the next game, you put him in when the people that are supposed to be cut are supposed to be playing. And you give them reps. I'm not saying that they trying to jeopardize him or nothing or sabotage him, but they definitely not doing anything to help him. Even when the owner or the owner came out and said that it wasn't his decision. Like, who says that crap publicly about a player? And let's be honest, when people bring up the Cleveland Browns, what's the name that comes up? Shedeur Sanders. He puts butts in seats. They set records. Nobody's ever watched a preseason game. There was no preseason game in NFL history that was more tuned in than that game. Because people wanted to see Shedeur Sanders play. He puts butts in seats, but he can back it up. Shedeur Sanders is a better quarterback than Tim Tebow. But where the NFL, primarily the Jets, use Tim Tebow to put butts in seats, Shedeur Sanders can back it up with his play. All those records are safe as long as Salter at quarterback. They said they're going to play the freshman. He said the freshman is definitely going to play. You know what I'm saying? So that's something we got to think about, man. I don't think people just really understand how good or, you know, what it takes to be great. Like, I don't think people just understand football, man. Like you look at the Texas game against Ohio State this past weekend. Dog, you had two of the best defenses in college football going head to head. That game was 7-14, and it could have been Texas. I will say, I think it was play calling too, because you on the goal line. Why are you quarterback sneaking with Arch Manning? They could have ran the ball more than what they did. You know what I'm saying? I felt like they should have, because you got a stable of running backs. You got Baxter back too. Like, why are you not running the ball more? You know what I'm saying? And the passing, it wasn't anything, you know, it wasn't a whole bunch of RPOs and things like that, you know. And I get it too, from Texas standpoint, from a coach's standpoint, you don't want to show too much, because your goal at the end of the day is to win the SEC. You could afford to lose a game against Ohio State and still make the playoffs, because it's Ohio State. They just won a national championship. They bring in guys back. They're still, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not a loss. Like, Texas lost, but it's really not a loss on them. If you're gonna lose a game, it better be to an Ohio State. You know what I'm saying? Now, if they come out next week and lose, different story. You know, they get out there and lose against a lesser team, different story. But they can go out there and run the table and win every game in the SEC. I don't think anybody looked at the Texas loss and said Texas is bad. Nobody did that. They just talk about the missed throws that Arch had. Every quarterback in the NFL is better than Tebow. I'm just saying, but look at the hype and the praise that Tebow got. But you see people just bluntly hating on Shedeur. It's crazy. Arch just has to not let other expectations of him overshadow who he knows. It's one game. That's my point. That's the other point I wanted to get to, man. We judging these players. Now it seems like society is judging you off of one game. I don't like the excuse they made. Oh, it's his first time starting, and he's going against a team like Ohio State and their defense. Bro, Texas defense is just as good, if not better. Texas defense is just as good as Ohio State's defense. I'll put it like this. If they played again, that game could go either way. Nobody would watch that game and say that Ohio State would absolutely 100% win if they played again. Because you got the ball into the red zone a couple times. Texas did. And to me, that was a stupid play call to run with Arch Manning on the quarterback sneak. Like, they know it's coming. You as creative as a play caller that Steve Sarkisian was, that wasn't very creative. If you watch that game, Texas played very conservative in that game. They didn't look like the old Texas offense. And why? Could it be that Arch Manning just isn't picking up the offense as well? Because when you look at games last year that Arch Manning played, the offense Steve Sarkisian didn't run the same style of offense with Arch that he did with Quinn Ewers. Maybe Arch isn't as smart of a quarterback. Maybe he's still struggling to pick up the offense. But that offense did not look as explosive or as finesse as it did with Quinn Ewers. And I did not like a Quinn Ewers. In big time games, it seemed like Quinn Ewers would find a way to crap the bed and almost throw the game away. Arch Manning gets hype from the fans. He's more athletic than a Quinn Ewers, but I really think Quinn Ewers is a smarter quarterback than Arch Manning. Even with the QBs that are extremely experienced, LSU and Clemson played hella conservative. I swear Nussmeier threw like 8 screen passes. Yeah. It's the first game. You playing these big games, bro. Coaches ain't trying to reveal their whole playbook in the first game. They not trying to throw everything. And likewise, that goes the same for Ohio State. You know? But Texas defense, they shut down Jeremiah Smith. Sayin did make some plays. It was plays there to be made from Texas. That game, if you watch that game, it could have went either way. I take it back to that goal line. If Texas scores on the goal line, different ball game. Different ball game. You gave Ohio State all the confidence they needed by not scoring. not getting those 2 to 3 yards that you needed to get into the end zone. Tremendous. Tremendous. College basketball, that's what the video was about today on the channel, man. Guys, the corporate greed is insane. Corporate greed is insane. What division is Langston? Did I spell that right? I'm not even going to put equivalent in there. Grambling just played, because that's what we were saying right here, man. People was upset. What are your initial thoughts on Ohio State? He talked about the ban. But and this is another thing. Is we on sports? You know what I'm saying? Why people tripping? Big D1 has always played smaller D1s. Because you look in the comments and there's people look at what people talking. This is why I say people don't know football. They don't know sports. Bro, this is wild. There's a reason no books carrying this game yet. I'm waiting for any sort of team or total props. Ryan Day says he wants to see some explosiveness. Can we all agree these types of games shouldn't happen? That's stupid. Grambling is a Division I school. Division I schools have Big D1 has always played smaller D1 schools. It's always happened. But you read these comments and it's like people don't understand that. Imagine playing this big of a cupcake and then touting you're not. Every team does it. Mind you, Appalachian State, who was on the same level as Grambling State a few years ago before they moved up to Big D1, knocked off Michigan at the Big House. So people just don't listen right here. I like that too. He's not wrong. 2 great bands. Yep. It's crazy. Like people literally act like they don't understand. A team like Grambling, and then somebody asked me about Langston. Langston is NAIA. And I would say that Langston is kind of the equivalent of a Division II school. NAIA. It's not NCAA. But I've seen Langston play. I played it at Southern Arkansas. They can compete on the Division II level in the NCAA. Yeah, they get that check, but people are like, oh, it's a slaughter, blah, 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 blah. No, it actually benefits both teams. Number one, it benefits the other team, the bigger schools, because it's a brush-up game. You know, you get some actual action, but your guys aren't, it's not as difficult a challenge. And here in recent history, especially with the transfer portal, these smaller schools have been competing a lot better. But yet and still, and it benefits the smaller schools aside from money because you're playing tougher competition. Imagine if you play on Ohio State. Bro, it ain't nobody on your schedule that's going to play you that good. So if you can go out there and compete, that tells you as a player and that tells you as a coach that, bro, if we can compete with Ohio State, we should be able to beat every team that we play. You're not going to see as good receivers. You're not going to see as good overall teams. Now, don't get it twisted. It's some guys at that smaller D1 level that the only reason they're not at big time D1 is somebody didn't give them the opportunity, but they're just as talented. The talent is just not as concentrated. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot more diluted at that level. Every level that you go down. It's not that guys aren't talented, because you see guys get drafted even from Division III schools to the NFL and have success. Is that it's a lot more diluted. Division I, big time D1, the talent is so much more concentrated. The higher level you go up, the more concentrated the talent is. Same thing applies to quarterback Klubnik of Clemson. We danced this dance before last season, got it together. Yeah. These small schools look forward to they get that check, they get their money too, that helps. Yeah, a lot of teams play conservative. They held Jeremiah Smith. Even Miami played conservative and let Notre Dame back into the game. Miami got beat by Middle Tennessee at home. See, it happened, but Middle Tennessee is big D1 though. They have the scholarships to be able to bring in those good players. Granted, they probably don't bring in as much talent as a Miami does, but don't nobody feel sorry for these teams. Grambling ain't going out there feeling sorry for themselves. I guarantee you the players on them team, they looking forward to it because, dude, how many chances are you going to get in your life to play against Ohio State? in the big house, bro. That not, and then two, it puts them on the map. If you got a kid that can go out there and perform, say I'm a quarterback from Grambling and I go out there and have a great day, even we might lose the game, but I still play well. I got that on tape. NFL scouts are going to take notice of that. Hey, who is this guy right here? Because, you know, the biggest knock against a smaller division team is that they don't play against tough talent. But when you got an Ohio State on film and you go out there and play well or halfway decent, then it's like, hey, he didn't play too bad against this tougher competition now. You see what I'm saying? Grambling is paying great money for that contest, and they will get a chance to show their talents. Soft sport fans generation is something else. It is. And I guess that's the way that you can label it. Soft sports fans. Soft sports fans. That's what this generation is. Like, boo-hoo, because I got to play Ohio State. And then the head coach, he made a good joke. It was funny. Our band will be better than they band. That's true. It'll be battle of the bands. He know they team not going to win. They could, it's possible, but he knows what team he has. And he even says it. The players understand, too. They going to go out there and compete. They going to play their butts off, but they shouldn't beat on Ohio State. If Grambling beat Ohio State, it's not that Grambling was better. It's that Ohio State played bad. Because there's no way. You know what I'm saying? I ain't going to say there's no way. It can happen. Do you really think that Appalachian State, that same Appalachian State team that beat Michigan, okay, are they beating those same types of teams now? Moving up to big time D1? Nah. Michigan came, and you can have a better team and still lose a ball game. You can have a better team and still lose the game. It's wild, man. Where was I at on the Ryan Clark thing? Let me look in the comments. We gotta go to the comments on that. I like this comment here. Y'all confuse generational talent, success with generational talent. It takes a full offense and defense to win chips. Mahomes can do everything Brady does plus more. That's what makes him generational. That's what I said. It's not about the accolades, because it's a lot that goes into that. Barry Sanders was a generational talent at running back, both in college and the NFL. His record still stands today in college. But he don't have the championships. He don't have the wins to support it, you know. A lot of guys started watching college football in the college football playoff era. And then you look on like social media, man, you get all these people putting out videos and their thoughts and opinions, and they don't really understand football. And it's crazy because, like, I guess with me being a coach and having played the game as well, I don't look at the game the same way as I did when I was growing up a fan of the game. You know, I didn't understand play calls and schemes and things like that. It's like, even now, I go watch a high school game, it's hard for me to even watch it. Like, even when I got the chance to watch my son play, you know, he's playing on the same nights and stuff, different schools. I don't watch it through the lens of a fan. It's kind of hard to. You're constantly analyzing the game. And then you hear people. This is one thing I don't like sitting in crowds, because you hear people talking and it really pisses me off. Because you realize people have no clue what the hell they talking about. That's a flag. And I'm sitting there by my wife like, nah, that ain't no flag. They just da-da-da-da. And she, babe, just hush for somebody to get mad. But it's so irritating. I don't want to tell them it's not a flag. That's a legit, like, da-da-da. People don't know sports. And these same men that's yelling crap coaching Little League football. I'm like, bro, no wonder these generations becoming a cook, because you got coaches coaching that don't know about the damn game. As a JV player, you had to go face your varsity football team. You going to practice that day. My G was like, nah, let's get this and earn my spot. Yes. We had to go against, but when I was in high school, we were fortunate enough. We had a freshman team, junior varsity, and a varsity. And get this, our freshman team, we'd beat the hell out of the JV every day. And then, okay, we played, because I went to school in New Boston. We played Redwater. our junior varsity played that same Redwater team JV and they lost. Our freshman team played them. We won. Like, bruh. But I'm gonna say this: when we went against varsity, oh my God, it was boy. We was better than our JV, but varsity was on a whole nother level. Them dudes was talented. I know what it's like being on a team where you got multiple guys getting college scholarships, man. It's a different beast. It's a different beast. He says, I think athleticism and arm strength is the only aspect of a quarterback talent, when in reality, quarterback IQ, accuracy, and touch are the most important talents a quarterback can have. A black quarterback will never be as good as those three. That's why he's saying that. See, why are you making it race? Just because a black dude is saying the truth. Only person I disagree with him on is Tom Brady. Because in the NFL, Brady is generational. And it ain't even because it is necessarily, you can say his wins, but it's a blurred line. Because his success, to me, is directly tied to you put Brady on any team and they're automatically better. You know what I'm saying? Peyton Manning is close, but it's like because Brady did it before Manning. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Breeze, and he ain't in that conversation. Breeze was a beast at high school, though. Westlake, holla at your boy. Texas, stand up. You know what I'm saying? See, people mad, but they're not. Here's my deal. You can disagree, but when you start trashing people for the comments they make instead of speaking logically, giving a logical reply, I don't think. See, what is your reply? Why do you feel that way? You just mocking him and then you put him in. What is your reply to that? Because they weren't. They were just the best at their craft and became GOATs. But talent-wise, no, they weren't. And I watched every single Tom Brady game. He's my GOAT. There's a difference. You got to make a good point. In terms of physical tools, yeah, he's right. In terms of football IQ, they were generational talents. In terms of work ethic and obsession, I ain't going to say that because how many players bust their ass that you don't hear about? You know what I'm saying? They were generational talents. I don't think they were. They were generational influences because they were the best at their position during your time of watching the game. But that's not what a generational talent is. Interesting. Let's make it real simple. The point of every game is to win the game. Brady, Manning, and Breeze are winners. That's not what a generational talent is. That's a winner. It's a difference. See, it's just people that don't know. Ryan Clark loses credibility every day with his takes. I don't agree with a lot of what he says, but I do agree with what he's saying right here, though. From a collegiate standpoint, he's more correct, especially about Brady and Breeze. Peyton Manning won the Heisman, so arguing against his talent in college is a little strange. How many players are just as good that don't win the Heisman, though? The Heisman vote is a popularity contest at the end of the day. Let's be honest. If you look at production, Ashton Genty did more for Boise than Travis Hunter did for Colorado. Travis Hunter won the Heisman because you will look at it. Maybe he didn't lead in every statistical category, but he played at a high level at receiver and DB. And that's something that we hadn't seen in a while. Quick answer, he's not generational talent. Like Gil with Cam, you can disagree without being disrespectful. Yeah. You can disagree, but my thing is like when people just say like certain stuff, something stupid, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, Ryan Clark is racist. Okay, do you agree or disagree and why? Like add some essence to the conversation. Tom Brady isn't a generational talent though. Just because he won a lot don't mean nothing about his talent, his natural athletic skills. Athletic skills ain't necessarily what makes you generational. Like, if you can say that Brady is generational, you got to look at the body of work. His mindset, his leadership, his IQ. It's a combination of different things, you know. You don't have to have athletic ability. He's not the fastest guy, but he had the arm strength to make every throw. Peyton was, though. Aaron was. Josh Allen is? No, Josh Allen is not a generational talent. Pat? I can say Pat Mahomes is approaching the realm of generational talent at quarterback. Lamar is. I don't say Lamar is because Vic was Lamar before Lamar was Lamar. Now people say, oh, but the MVPs and da-da-da-da-da, bro, that's accolades. That's based off of people's decisions, man. If Vic hadn't got in trouble with the dogfighting stuff, Jaden might be. No, Jaden Daniels is not generational. See, this is somebody that don't know what they're talking about. He's just basing it off talent. They don't make somebody a generational talent. How is Jaden Daniels a generational talent? It's a thin line, man.
That was an impressive showing.
That's a thin line. All right, man. So, guys, I'm finna hop off of here. I got another video to do for my Facebook with my high school teams and stuff like that. I got some stuff going on with that. I'm gonna bring a little bit of that to the channel too, so be ready for that, guys. But I appreciate y'all for tuning in, man. I gotta do more of these. We gotta have these weekly debates. I'm gonna have a weekly kind of wrap-up show for college football and stuff like that. So be ready for that, man. Because, you know, college football, I've been playing the game still. I love it. It's fun. I have been playing other games, and that's why you hadn't been seeing a lot of videos, because I'm getting ready to start talking about the next year's game. But one thing that I have to learn to do on the channel is I'm not a Bordeaux, or where like I'm posting videos of me playing through the game, simulating a bunch of seasons. He has somebody that probably edits those videos. I don't have the time to do all that. I do, but actually I just don't want to. But you know what I'm saying? That's just not me. You know what I'm saying? But I am trying to find different ways to bring content to the channel as well. And I do like these debates. The debates are always fun. Okay, because what's one thing, whenever we go live, we always have good debates. We always have good conversations. So I want to find a way to bring that stuff to the channel. So stay tuned for that. But I do appreciate y'all for tuning in, man. Got a video dropping tomorrow. Till next time, y'all, thanks for watching. Peace.